Um, Hopefully we don't take up too many more minutes, but this will be a fun one. We're going to be talking about this world here.
The World of
see,
Imago.
it's an actual world. We have fully built out architecture, environments, characters. But begs the question, okay, where do they come from? Who are their friends? What do they do? And with that comes a deep, rich narrative of story arc.
Oh, yes.
And I would love to ask why reading about this world might be valuable. Because there'll be exciting announcements for a written literary series and also character-based graphic booklets with epic adventure novels.
Yes. Book 1, Pago State, The World of Imago.
Yeah, tell us about a little bit about the story arc there. What did this Pago have in store?
Well, first off, where did this world's beginnings occur? It was answering the question, where does Pago come from, right? So you've already heard the story of Pago's origins as a company mascot with a previous business. But then, we had to come up with this idea, and I say we because I always think in terms of team, but several years ago it was just moi until Ethan came along.
Wow.
And by the way, this is Ethan and Eric, in case you hadn't seen any of our other videos. So this world of Imago is a place entirely made up of paper. And just like the characters, the vehicles they drive and visit other parts of the world, the architecture, everything is made of paper, or sometimes we refer to it as parchment, which is a flat material that can be converted into a three-dimensional shape. So then what happens in this world? I mean, characters come together, there's got to be some drama, maybe some comedy. So the world is the first character that we address in describing its features. It's made up of 4 quadrants, which are split into those 4 quadrants by imagination's path, which is like a super highway that gets from the city center, capital city, to the extreme terminal cities at the edge of the world, and north, south, east, west. And each of those quadrants are named Tinkertank, Towerton, Staccadia, Pristinia. And there's a big, giant, rich history why those names are and why they exist, how they evolved. This whole land is kind of split culturally between the cut-up species and the indigenous Origamica species, which were the original species, the ones that the master imaginator who created this world brought into being. They're very bird-like, very origami-like creatures, characters, and they live in the ring forest that goes around this world. And so I'm talking about places. So why a literary track? Well, we need to explain these places. There's a lot of rich details to get into, dive into, to know how this world is, its different places, and how the characters like Pago, Liaga, Wago, Alita, Rinder, Iago, etc., how they all interact with these different places and people end up, having politics, because the politics determine who gets what territory and how they're attached. And then there's all these cultural things like stack racing, the great Imagoan sport, or Trigo, the great ancient board game that the Origamica practice. And on the details go. So how do you tell about these details? You tell it in an interesting story. So the book, or booklets, which are very heavily illustrated, tell more a focused story about each of the characters. We start with book 1, which is focused on Pago. Book 2 is going to be focused on Wago, the winged Noel Drib. Book 3 will be about Liaga, and then book 4 is going to be about kind of one of the main villain characters, antagonist by the name of Diago. And then it goes on. We're going to explore each of the main characters, then secondary, and then tertiary characters. Those will be an ongoing series of books. And then what happens once we learn about these characters? They're going to be interacting more intensely as they get to know each other as time progresses through life in Imago. And so that's where the adventure novels, the bigger epic, 100,000 plus word novels, much more heavy on prose, narrative, still with some illustrations, but the books themselves are going to be heavily illustrated, very small on words, just because we have some readers who like more pictures, less words, and some readers who want more words, more details to read about it, to let their own imaginations take hold. But that's kind of the literary approach to coming to this world. You can also come to it by building the characters. We have a whole slew of creative art venture projects where you can build your own Pago, build your own Yaga, build your own scrap. These are the large life-size versions, but they come in the quarter-scale version. I'm sorry, not quarter-scale, but they're smaller scale versions. And then we have the World of Architecture, which will be quarter-scale. So there's so many different ways to come to this world. You can actually build parts of it, characters, architecture, or you can read about it. And then we're going to have a series of things like coloring books, so you can explore putting color to this world. And then it goes on.
I think it would be beneficial to do a quick exercise. And if you viewing want to do this as well, let's just close our eyes for a second and think about the world of Imago. And I want to know the first thought that pops into your head. Eric, would you care to share?
Oh, trees come to mind. The origamica tree houses where the origamica dwell, live. They're in these organized groves of squares, and then you have the ringed forest around the outer perimeter of the world of Imago that's full of different kinds of trees that the master imaginator has populated the forest with. And they create a very dense, thick canopy that hides a lot of mysteries, like the tree temple, a character that we're going to explore that hasn't been announced yet, but you're going to hear about this one character that was created very recently, hides in the shadows because he's very powerful, very outwardly appears monstrous, but he has an incredibly huge heart. This is Nate, the No Guard. Now, if you know anything and listen to some of our previous videos, you understand we flip some words around. And Nate is derived by flipping Ethan's name around. N-A-H-T-E, E-T-H-A-N. Same with No Guard is dragon, spelled backwards. Just hints. Yeah. So, want to tell you more about each of these characters, but we're going to save those for other videos. We just want to lay sort of the basic groundwork, I think, in this video to just talk about this general world made of paper. You're seeing dimensional manifestations of it, and we can spend more time on more videos down the road talking about little moments. There are little stories. For example, we've talked about Scrap and his little powerful example as a hero that saves Liaga from a horrible fate, being swallowed up by the great unknowns that lurk underneath the vast scrapness that circumnavigates and surrounds the entire world of Imago. This endless ocean of scraps, and nobody knows how deep it goes. These scraps have been multiplying over the life of the master imaginators creating this world, and all they know is that big gaps open up, these big vacuumous maws, call them, that swallow everything in their path. They create these big sort of tornado whirlwind-like columns of scraps flying around as they approach. Very dangerous and all-consuming. So this is what keeps the cut-ups from exploring anything across the scrap houses, except maybe great parts like Pago and Wago and Liaga. But those will be explored, those stories will be explored in the novel series. The first novel being Pago and the World of Imago.
Wow. As you can see, the vision is so rich and pure in our minds, touching upon so many ideas, trying to express them, trying to manifest them, and yeah, I guess when you guys close your eyes, you might think of a castle or a colorized creative art venture project that provides some paint to some of these white surfaces. But we have it so beautifully extensive and abundant up in here, and the challenge is getting it out there to you guys. So as a creative, Eric, do you want to speak a little bit on what it's like to have so much, I guess, energy and idea flying around within you that you feel the need to share with the whole world?
Well, I think it's just, first off, so much fun to be able to flex one's creativity. And then it becomes even more fun when you can share and incite other people's creativity. You know, we have that phrase here, to foment a riot in the imagination. We really, in pursuit of giving to creativity, this is all really fundamentally about sharing an experience I had as a child. And that was when my mom gave me that book on origami. And that set me on a path, a creative path that I've quite literally built my entire life around. I have a professional career that has been entirely built around designing and engineering in paper. Why paper? Well, it's immediate, and you can do endless things, as this world proves. And you know, it translates itself into other mediums like sheet metal, wood, other flat materials that you can then cut and convert into three-dimensional shapes. So paper is a great starting place. Many architects, for example, and engineers prototype and scale models using paper and paper boards to flesh out an idea before they go and do something in a different material. I just learned a while ago that game developers who are designing digital online video games actually call what they say they paper out the idea. They cut the parts in the different play items and play it out in pieces of paper before they then go onto the computer and actually start digitally designing the game. I found that interesting, that full circle way of developing ideas. Again, paper. And we've talked about the history, a little bit of paper. It's thousands of years old as a human invention. What we know of our history often has come from ancient pieces of writings on papyrus or pieces of paper, besides things on cave walls and carved in stone, but also paper. So paper has been this very important thing in so many different ways. And the fact that we can use it to create ideas that then we can share with our fellow humans, you, take paper, for those who like to make things, or read about them and then make them, or make them and then follow up on the stories. So there's different ways to come about this world. But as far as the creativity that I experience, I've been playing in a world of paper since, including childhood. And now I just remember being so excited when I had my free time to explore these ideas and make them come to life before me in tangible 3D form. And I want to share that. I think it was so much fun, still so much fun. So much so I'm willing to work crazy hours, long days, and this is the manifestation of it. And now I get to bring an incredible business partner, friend, into it, share the process, and we get to give it out to you out there. So that's incentive. But the process, I mean, I experience a lot of impatience sometimes because there's so much going on. I can see this whole world. There's just not enough hours or days, weeks to get busy making this physical. And again, we repeat, everything that is illustrated here, everything that's written about has physically been made. It's not a, it is a fantasy world, but at the same time, it's a real, tangible world. Everything, the characters, the vehicles, the furniture, the architecture, everything. So that's something really special that you maybe don't experience with any other kind of story franchise or intellectual property, shorthand IP. That also makes us excited about some potentials as far as building life-sustaining business around that and bringing more and more creative people to the work we do over time. So this is creativity magnifying itself. There's a lot of that incredible potential that's springing from the stories.
What Eric is describing is a term that I've recently come to realize as world building. I guess a verb for developing intellectual property, and you're seeing it at a very high level, very intuitively from a master at his craft in the form of paper, and it is a joy to watch and to help be that sense of light, sense of wonder, sense of joy, being able to share in this vision, and in a similar manner to some of the word play we do with this world building that's ensuing is Eric Ward. Think about Ward backwards. It's draw, and Eric is drawing one of the most incredible worlds I've ever seen. Similar to how we use my name as Nate the No Guard for a whole species of dragons, and same as we did with Noil Dribs for a whole species of lion birds. And when I close my eyes, I think about what's beyond. We touched upon the scrap vastness, but what's beyond this map that's going to be coming soon is more kingdoms, more civilizations through the sheet clouds, in the sky, winged creatures coming down. What else is out there? If you can see it, if you can feel it, if you can sense it, I have a calling for it, and
Okay, thank you for all that wonderful stuff said, Ethan. You bring to life the passion that I've been living internally, and you now make it an outward process that we get to then bring to anybody who comes to this world. And so, thank you for that. It's very powerful as an example. That it just confirms what this set of experience does is in creating it, but also in sharing it, because we get to see people have come to like LA Comic-Con recently, or these STEM maker fairs, and we get to see the eyes of people, young people, parents, grandparents, kids, light up with awe and wonderment, and also realization that they actually get to come and play and build in this world, share in it. And it goes right to the core of who I am as an artist, goes to the core of who I am as a human being who tries to walk in a giving way. And now I've got an incredible partner in that. I mean, this is the positive kind of energy that manifests from really giving one's heart and mind over to the creative process. And really behind all that is something we want to share with anybody and everybody out there. We're in the very beginning phase of getting this thing launched. And we're going to have book 1 coming out hopefully the first part of next year. There's a lot of lifts we have to do. We've just recently signed with some representation that's going to start introducing us to other business opportunities. So there's a lot of things spinning around that we'll eventually probably have, other kinds of videos. We'll talk about those things in those videos, but also bring you guys up to speed of some little stories about some of the characters and what's going on around them. And in the mix, you can find us in social media formats. You can go to our website and find more snippets of stories and things to share, to discover and get more insight into how this world exists. And there's a place for everybody here some way, somehow, whether you're more into the stories behind the characters, or you're really into the sculptural nature of the architecture or the racing vehicles. I mean, there's just so many aspects to this world. If you're into kind of a call it Game of Thrones politics, friction and the drama of that, the stories are going to give you that. There are a lot of conflicts going on between different factions within this world. Just figuring out who is going to own what castle, who's going to control the politics within the capital castle itself. On it goes.
Well, yeah, you saw the prop for this video. It is book 1, Pago's Fate, where a lot of this is touched upon, and we're hoping to release it in early 2025. So look out for something new being published, and it's another, just opener to attract people into what we're doing here. And more shows and tells and props coming in future videos. But feel free to drop us a question or reach out if you have any other comments or suggestions, or feel that you have similar feeling part of this creative world building. We're trying to find kindred spirits in that. So we are open, and we will be the ones replying. If you take that first step, if you take that leap of faith and you reach out, we would love to share this even more so. Because at one point it was 1, and now it's doubled. And from there it scales. So thank you for listening again.
Well, not to say, it goes on. I mean, we're attracting more and more people to us. They discover it, and they get excited about it. That's why we have new representation, introducing us to new situations. There's so many stories on the real world, human side of this experience, that behind the scenes workings that we'll tell future stories about as well. Those are fun as much as anything, because they speak to the values that we're putting out there. And it's very gratifying. Very gratifying.
In the back of my mind, I have a scary, sneaking suspicion that I did not hit the record button to start this video. Did you hit it?
You hit it. I saw you touch it.
Okay.
I don't know if it actually switched on.
Well, I'm going, before I stand up and end this, I'm going to hope and pray that this content was captured, because there are some gems here. And I don't want anyone to see me cry on camera, but if it wasn't recording, no one will see me cry anyway. So, all right.
Yes, we have the power of editing.
The World of Imago.
Yes, it was recording.
Yeah. No, it's okay.